I knew the moment I saw her, standing in the house that was once ours, that she thought she had won. She stood there like she owned it all, wearing that smile, pretending she had no idea how much she had taken. But I saw right through her. She was basking in the victory of everything she had stolen from me, everything I had built. But what she didn't realize was that I was still breathing. That was all I needed. The years I spent in my business, working harder than anyone else, sacrificing weekends, family dinners, holidays, all of it was supposed to mean something. All of it was supposed to be for us. For her. I had climbed the ladder for so many years, only to watch her tear it all down, brick by brick, when I was at my weakest. I had spent the better part of my life ensuring her comfort, her happiness, only to find out that she never truly cared about any of it. It wasn't just the house or the company. It wasn't just the wealth. She had taken everything, the trust, the respect, and the love that I had freely given to her, only to be trampled on. I could see it in her eyes as she looked at me, her gaze sweeping over my tired face, her lips curling into that practiced, patronizing smile. "Jonathan," she said, "it's time to let go. You can't keep holding on to the past." Holding on to the past? She was the one who had torn it all apart. She was the one who had manipulated me, used my kindness and generosity against me, and made sure I was left with nothing. Now she wanted me to just walk away, accept defeat, and watch as she moved on to the next phase of her life, never once looking back at the wreckage she had left behind. I clenched my fists, the rage building inside me. My heart hammered in my chest, not from weakness, but from the fire that was igniting inside of me. I had been a fool. She had made me a fool. But not anymore. "I'm not letting go, Caroline," I said through gritted teeth, my voice low but unwavering. "I'm taking everything back. Everything you stole from me." Her face faltered for a split second. For a brief moment, I saw something other than arrogance in her eyes, fear. But it was quickly replaced by that same cold, calculating look. "You're delusional," she replied, her tone now dripping with venom. "You think you can just undo everything? You think you can change the past?" I stepped forward, closing the distance between us, my anger making me feel alive in a way I hadn't felt in years. "No. But I can make sure you never forget the price you'll pay for everything you've done." Her smile wavered again, and for the first time, I felt something inside me shift. She hadn't expected this. She thought she had already won, thought she had destroyed me. But I wasn't finished. I would never let her walk away with everything. Not without consequences. It was time to take back what was mine. I didn't need a fortune to do it. I didn't need my company or the house or even my dignity. I needed something far more powerful, the will to fight, the resolve to never let her control me again. I turned away from her, knowing that my next move would be the one that changed everything. It wouldn't happen overnight, but I would rebuild myself, brick by brick, just like she had destroyed everything I worked for. This time, though, I would be the one pulling the strings. And she would learn the hard way what happens when you take everything from a man who has nothing left to lose. I never saw it coming. I thought I had it all figured out, years of hard work, everything I did, every sacrifice I made was for her, for our future. My business, our home, everything I worked for, I thought it was all part of the plan. But then, one day, everything shattered, and I realized it was all a lie. At first, it was small things. She started distancing herself, avoiding conversations, making excuses. I didn't think much of it. But the more I tried to ignore it, the clearer it became. She was pulling away. She was acting strange. Little by little, I began to understand. The woman I trusted, the one I had shared everything with, had been plotting behind my back. It hit me when I found out she had been maneuvering my business behind the scenes. There were documents that showed she was slowly taking control, making moves that would eventually leave me with nothing. I wanted to believe it wasn't true, that I was just being paranoid, but the evidence was too clear. And when the divorce papers came, it was even worse. She accused me of all our problems, making it seem like it was my fault. She painted herself as the victim and played the part so well. In the end, the court sided with her. She walked away with everything: the house, the company, even the shares I had worked so hard for. All my years of effort, gone in a matter of months, as if they meant nothing. She had everything: my business, my money, my dignity. And I had nothing but a broken heart and empty pockets. What hurt the most was that she didn't even seem to care. She got exactly what she wanted. I never realized it before, but now it was clear. It wasn't just the money. It wasn't just about the business or the house. No, it was about control. She always wanted to be in control of everything: our relationship, our lives, my future. I was just a stepping stone, a tool she used to climb higher. She never loved me the way I thought she did. I was just a part of her plan, an obstacle she needed to eliminate when she was ready to move on. She had always been ambitious. Too ambitious, I now see. And when I didn't fit into her plans anymore, I was cast aside like an old piece of furniture. I realized too late that she was never really in love with me. She loved what I could give her. And when I couldn't give her any more, she discarded me without a second thought. The divorce hit me harder than I could have imagined. It wasn't just the loss of everything I worked for, it was the realization that I had nothing left. All my old friends disappeared, one by one, unwilling to get involved, unwilling to help. I became a ghost, living in a small house on the edge of town, where nobody came to visit. I watched her, Caroline, thriving. While I was struggling, barely scraping by, she was living the life I thought we had planned together. She was succeeding, using the very money I had earned to build her new life, while I was left in the shadows. Every time I saw her name in the papers, or heard about her success, it felt like a knife twisting in my chest. But what could I do? She had taken it all: my past, my future, everything. I was nothing but a broken man, abandoned by the world I once knew. And she was moving forward, without even looking back. It was late afternoon when the letter arrived. I had spent the day in my small house, staring at the walls that felt like they were closing in on me. But then, out of nowhere, something unexpected came through the mailbox. I opened it slowly, the weight of the envelope heavy in my hands. It was from Ed, my old friend, my lawyer. It had been years since I last heard from him, and I had no idea what to expect. "John," the letter began, "I've been following your situation, and it's not as hopeless as it seems. I've found ways to help you rebuild your life, your business. I have connections with people who can get you back on your feet, investors, financial experts, strategies that will help you recover what was taken from you. It's not too late. Let's meet and talk. I think we can make something happen." Reading the words, I felt a surge of hope. I had spent so long fighting the darkness, believing that everything was gone. But now, Ed's letter was a lifeline. For the first time in years, I could see a way out. My heart started to race, and I couldn't wait to meet him. The next day, I sat across from Ed in his office. He hadn't changed much, still sharp, still as determined as ever. He had always been the kind of person who knew how to get things done. And now, he was offering me a chance to do the same. "John, I've been thinking about you," Ed said as he poured coffee. "And I've got a plan. It's time to start over, and I can help you do it. Financial operations, investments, restructuring your business, it's all possible. You've got connections, but you need someone who knows the ropes. And I can help you with that." I listened carefully as he laid out the strategy. The plan was clear: use financial operations and smart investments to rebuild my wealth. But that wasn't all. Ed knew what had happened to me, how Caroline had torn my life apart. And he understood that this wasn't just about getting money back. This was about making her pay for what she did. It wasn't enough to just rebuild my life. I wanted to bring her empire down. "Let's make this happen," Ed said, looking me in the eye. "But we need a team. And I've got someone who can help you with the financial side of things. Meet Lizzie." A few days later, I met Lizzie, a financial expert who had been working with Ed for years. She was sharp, with short, dark hair and a no-nonsense attitude that immediately made me respect her. Lizzie had a mind for numbers, and she was exactly what I needed. From the moment we started talking, I could tell that she had the expertise to help me rebuild my business and take down Caroline's. We spent hours together, looking at my assets, the best ways to invest, and the companies we could target. Lizzie was meticulous, and we began planning how to start a new company that would not only bring me back to my former glory but would also destabilize Caroline's empire. The new company would be a competitor, targeting the very market she dominated. We weren't just going to match her, we were going to surpass her. As Lizzie and I worked together, I could feel the power shifting. Every decision, every move we made felt like it was part of a much bigger plan, a plan to destroy everything Caroline had built on the foundation of my life. Lizzie helped me build the capital I needed, making investments in real estate, tech, and other high-value areas. The money was flowing, and with it, my confidence grew. Slowly, I was rebuilding everything I had lost. But it wasn't just about money. I had another goal: revenge. I knew that if I wanted to really make Caroline feel the consequences of what she had done, I needed to go after her business. So I began tracking her financial transactions. Using Ed's legal expertise, we started monitoring her accounts, looking for discrepancies. It didn't take long for me to find irregularities, suspicious transactions, unreported income, and shady dealings with her business partners. We gathered the evidence, carefully documenting everything. I was patient, waiting for the right moment. And once we had everything in place, Ed filed the necessary paperwork. The lawsuit was official. I had built a solid case against Caroline, and now, it was time to take action. With every step, with every piece of evidence, I felt the walls closing in on her. She thought she had won, but I was coming for her. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about making her understand that the world she built on my destruction wasn't as secure as she thought. It was about showing her that I was back, stronger than ever, and that I was going to take everything from her, just as she had done to me. I never imagined how much things would change when I started to rebuild. At first, it felt impossible, but little by little, my financial investments began to pay off. My new business was thriving, growing faster than I ever thought it would. What once seemed like a distant dream was now becoming a reality. I wasn't just surviving anymore, I was thriving. And with each passing day, my confidence grew. It wasn't just about the money or the business. It was about proving to myself that I still had what it took to succeed. It was about showing Caroline that I wasn't the man she left in ruins, the one she thought would never rise again. I knew she still thought I was finished. She thought I would stay in the gutter, wallowing in my loss. But she was wrong. I was becoming stronger than I ever had been, and she had no idea. I ran into her by accident at a business conference one day. I had been invited as a guest speaker. My newfound success had opened doors I never thought possible. When I walked into the crowded hall, I spotted her from across the room. She looked the same, of course, poised and professional. But as soon as her eyes met mine, I saw it. For a brief moment, there was panic in her gaze, a flicker of recognition, a moment of fear. She quickly masked it, but I saw it. I saw the fear in her eyes, the realization that I wasn't the man she had discarded anymore. I wasn't the broken man she thought she had left behind. I could feel the satisfaction building inside me. She thought she had won. She thought I was finished. But now, the game had changed. I was no longer the man who had lost everything. I was the man who had come back, stronger than before. I didn't confront her at that moment. I didn't need to. The look on her face told me everything. She was afraid, and that was all I needed to know. I didn't waste any time after that. I went to work, using everything at my disposal to undermine her empire. I knew her company inside and out, and I began targeting its weaknesses, starting with small financial hits, subtle, strategic investments that slowly chipped away at her profits. Then I launched a competitive campaign, offering better deals, superior services, and drawing her clients to my side. At first, the losses were small, but as the weeks passed, they began to add up. Her clients started to notice, and they started to leave. I could see it in the way she was reacting. Her panic was growing. Every move I made felt like a small victory, and each victory brought me closer to my ultimate goal. It wasn't just about the money anymore. It was about taking everything she had built on my ruin and watching it crumble. And for the first time in a long while, I could feel the power shifting. It wasn't her empire anymore. It was mine. It had been years since everything fell apart. Years since Caroline had stolen everything from me, the business, the house, my dignity. And now, as I stood on the verge of regaining everything, I knew this final confrontation was inevitable. The time had come. I had rebuilt my life piece by piece, and with the help of Ed, I had gathered every shred of evidence I needed to expose Caroline for the fraud she truly was. She thought she had won, but the truth was about to come crashing down around her. For months, I had meticulously tracked her every move, watching her business dealings, uncovering her lies and manipulations. Each piece of evidence was another small victory, a reminder that the walls she had built around herself were crumbling. But I couldn't help but feel a sense of cold satisfaction when I saw her in court. She had always been so confident, so sure that she could manipulate the world around her. But now, she was the one on the defensive. And as her smug, self-assured expression faded, it was replaced with something far more familiar to me: fear. I had prepared for this moment. I knew that Caroline wouldn't back down easily. She never had. She was used to getting what she wanted, no matter the cost. And she had built an empire on the back of my suffering. But I had something now that I didn't have before: control. With Ed by my side, and the full weight of the evidence I had gathered, I was ready to bring her down. This wasn't just about taking back what was mine. This was about making sure she paid for what she had done to me. The trial began like any other, with opening statements and formalities. But as the first witness took the stand, I could feel the tension in the room building. The weight of the moment hung in the air like a storm ready to break. The first piece of evidence was a document, one of many Caroline had forged during our divorce. The shock on her face was unmistakable when it was presented in court. I could see the gears turning in her head as she tried to process the fact that the truth was now on display for everyone to see. She hadn't counted on me coming back this strong. She hadn't counted on me uncovering every lie she had told. The case proceeded, with each piece of evidence stacking up against her. The financial records she had tried to hide. The false claims she had made. The illegal transactions that had been buried under layers of paperwork. Each document, each piece of testimony, showed the same thing: Caroline had lied, cheated, and manipulated her way to success at my expense. I could see her trying to maintain her composure, but it was slipping. She was no longer the confident, calculating woman who had taken everything from me. Now, she was a cornered animal, trying desperately to maintain control. But I wasn't going to let her get away with it. Every time she tried to deny the evidence, I pushed back harder. Ed was with me every step of the way, presenting the facts with precision, tearing apart her defense. I knew that she was going to fight dirty, she always had. But this time, she was outmatched. I wasn't the man she had left in the dust. I had fought my way back, and now I was in control. The final moments of the trial were a blur. I remember the judge calling for a break, and then the courtroom going silent as we waited for the verdict. The tension in the air was thick. I could see the fear in Caroline's eyes as the judge prepared to deliver the decision. I had won. It was inevitable now. She knew it. I knew it. And I could feel the weight of the moment pressing down on her. When the judge finally spoke, the words hit me like a tidal wave. "The court finds in favor of the plaintiff, Jonathan Miller." I could barely hear the rest of the statement. All I could feel was the rush of victory. It was over. She had lost everything. It wasn't just about the money or the business. It was about justice. Caroline had spent years manipulating me, lying to the courts, building a life on my misery. And now, she was paying the price. The empire she had built on my ruin was crumbling, and I was standing at the top, looking down. But as I stood there, the weight of the victory settling in, I knew this wasn't the end. It was just the beginning. I had taken back what was mine, but I wasn't finished. There was more to be done. And now, I could finally breathe again. The game was over, and I had won. The courtroom was quiet as I sat there, the final moments of this long, drawn-out battle unfolding before me. I could feel the weight of every day, every moment that had led to this, every moment of betrayal, loss, and pain that had piled on top of me. Now, it all came down to this. Caroline had thought she could outsmart me. She had thought she could bury me under her lies, using the law to her advantage, manipulating the system the way she had manipulated me for so many years. But she had underestimated me, and now, as I sat there in the courtroom, I was about to take everything back. I watched her from across the room. Her composure was starting to crack. She was sitting at the defendant's table, but her usual air of superiority was gone. She was tense, her fingers clenched tightly in her lap, and I could see the slight tremor in her hand. The facade was slipping. For the first time in years, I saw her as she truly was, a scared woman who had built her life on lies, trying to hold on to a world she knew was falling apart. And there I was, standing strong. I had worked so hard to get here. I had fought every day to rebuild what she had taken from me. My business was growing again, and my life had taken a turn for the better. But I knew it wasn't just about the business anymore, it was about justice. It was about putting an end to the years of manipulation, deceit, and control that she had over me. It was about taking back the power she had stolen, and showing her that I was no longer the man she had left behind. As Ed continued to present the final pieces of evidence, I could feel the tension in the air. It wasn't just the stakes of the case, it was the years of resentment, the anger, and the pain that I had been holding inside. I had every reason to be angry with her, to want to make her suffer. But as I sat there, watching her unravel before my eyes, I realized something important. I didn't need to hold on to the anger. I had fought this fight for justice, not for revenge, but for what was rightfully mine. And now, as the judge prepared to give his verdict, I could feel the weight of the years of struggle finally lifting off my shoulders. I had won. I had fought back, and in the end, I had reclaimed my life. The judge's voice broke through my thoughts, and for a moment, everything seemed to slow down. "The court finds in favor of the plaintiff, Jonathan Miller," he said, his voice steady and firm. In that moment, everything changed. The weight of the past few years, the years of hardship and loss, all seemed to dissolve. I wasn't the man who had been broken by her anymore. I was someone else, someone who had fought for what was right, who had fought to rebuild, and who had ultimately triumphed. I looked across the room at Caroline, and for the first time, I saw her for what she was, a woman who had tried to destroy me, but who had failed. Her empire, built on my ruin, was now in shambles. She had lost everything she had worked so hard to keep. And in that moment, I felt a sense of peace. It wasn't about taking everything from her, it was about taking back what was mine. And more importantly, it was about finally freeing myself from the weight of the past. As I walked out of the courtroom that day, I felt a weight lift off my shoulders. I had taken control of my life again. But there was something else I had gained through this process: perspective. I had learned that while justice was important, forgiveness was just as vital. Holding on to anger and resentment only kept me trapped in the past. And if I wanted to move forward and truly live my life, I had to forgive, not just Caroline, but myself as well. I had spent so much time and energy hating her, blaming her for everything that had gone wrong in my life. But the truth was, I had let her have that power over me. I had let her define me for too long. Now, I was defining my own future. It was no longer about what she had done to me. It was about what I was going to do with the rest of my life. I had reclaimed my power, but more importantly, I had found peace. I no longer needed to fight her to feel whole. I didn't need to keep reliving the past to move forward. The lessons I had learned, about strength, resilience, and the importance of forgiveness, would stay with me for the rest of my life. And now, I was ready to build a future that was entirely my own. The sun was setting as I walked out of the courthouse, the golden light casting long shadows on the ground. I felt the warmth on my skin, and I couldn't help but smile. It was the first time in a long time that I truly felt free.